So pen and paper ready for the Podkin one-ear draw along with Mr Larwood himself. Here we go.
Right, I'm going to have a little go at drawing Podkin. I'm no David Wyatt, so my Podkin probably looks very different to the ones that he draws. But this is how I do it anyway. I've also cheated a little bit. I've done a rough pencil sketch just so I can make sure I've got it the right size when I draw. But I'm going to draw in pen. So when I do Podkin, I always do him from the side on with a rabbit's nose. So rabbit's nose is just like a V shape. Big chunky cheeks. And you can just see one of his eyes from the side, because rabbits have their eyes on the sides of their heads, not the front. Because they've evolved to keep an eye out for predators. So when you're doing a rabbit eye, a nice white circle of light shining on, and a smaller one there. There's the pupil. And Podkin's got brown eyes, so I'm just going to do some shading around there to make them look darker. There we go. When David draws him, he has a little kind of quiff of tufty hair at the front there, and of course he's only got one ear, and he has a bandana tied across where his missing ear would be. So I'm going to put that in there, and then I'm going to put a little knot there, and these are the ends of the bandana poking out. I like drawing these bits. And the rest of his face in there with a little tufty bit of hair. Of course his ear, he's only got one, and that's on the right hand side. So I'll put that one in there, nice and big. There we go. And a bit of shading to show that that's behind his head. When you're shading fur, you can just do little lines like this to make it look like fur. And then they get further apart as the shading gets lighter. Let's do his cloak now. Of course, he's got the brooch, moonfire brooch, which holds his cloak together and also lets him jump between the shadows when the moon's out. And we'll do the folds of his cloak as it comes over like this. And I always imagine him, I know he's supposed to be a chieftain's son, but he kind of travels around. So I imagine his clothes is always a little bit tatty and ragged and travel worn. You can do like jagged edges, and we'll add some patches and things on in a bit. And then the back of his cloak here, I'm going to do a little hood coming down his back. It's a hooded cloak. You can put that when it rains. And then this bit going over his arm there. Right, now we need to do his paws holding Starclaw. I've done Starclaw in its sheath, because I imagine you'd have to be very careful with that. You can cut through anything. If you weren't careful, you end up cutting through your fingers. There's his thumb, and the hilt of Starclaw, the pommel's got a kind of little face on the end of it, like that. That's how I imagine it anyway. That's the top of the sword there, kind of like a Bronze Age Celtic looking sword. And this is the sheath that it's in, which is tied on with some leather to his belt. Then the sheath comes down like this by his leg, and you just be able to see the rest of his arm like that going under his cloak. I'm going to shade that in because that will be hidden in the shadows. There we go. And his other arm here, he's got his thumb kind of in his belt. I always draw them with 3 fingers, although I think they're probably supposed to have 4 actually. And then the rest of his arm there, and then his belt coming along here. His belt buckle. Just do the top half like that, little pin in it there. And then the belt comes through like this. That's the end of the belt. You can put some holes in it. There's his belt around his waist. And I always imagine him wearing kind of like a long jerkin that pokes down below his belt. Like that. I'm going to put some patches on here. Just draw a square and some little lines. On there. Then his feet. Three toes again. And the same on the other side. These are just some wraps, cloth wraps around the bottom of his legs. There's 3 big rabbit toes. And then just to finish it off, what I'm going to do is a raggedy cloak coming down with lots of holes in it at the back there. And then just to show he's standing on the ground. And there we go, Podkin.